And now, introducing the Hall of
That's
Famer,
right.
Clint
Thank you very
Clark.
much. But Travis, what is better than one Hall of Famer? I'd say two.
Oh, I
It,
was thinking ice cream, but
no,
yeah,
it
that
is.
too.
It is. And honestly, people are they're gonna be hearing him about another minute. Travis is not gonna introduce me properly, and you're gonna hear me chastise him, and he deserved it because he was a very, very bad boy.
Very bad, very bad.
But I
Yeah,
need you not to be a very bad boy right
yeah.
now. And
Or
you know
girl.
how you don't how you're not a bad boy? You give us a like, then you share, and then
Yep,
you subscribe.
that's right.
But back to our very special guest. It is none other than now Arkansas Tech Hall of Fame football coach, Steve Mullins, head coach of the 1999 Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys, Gulf South Conference champions.
That's right. Man that's seen and done a lot, and he gives us some great insight to past times. We get a lot of Arkansas Tech talk, but also talk about Razorbacks, some things that are going on, with the team now. He gives us insight on what a coach is thinking there, and some different things. So
The
it's
man is a
interesting.
wealth of knowledge in football, and we talk a lot of football.
Yep. So,
And
folks,
he makes fun of me a little bit too.
which of course,
That's
why
like
not?
every week on this show.
Hmm.
I get no respect.
No
No respect.
respect.
No
All right.
respect.
Like, share, subscribe. Now listen to some Sean Michelle and get ready for some Steve Mullins. Booyah.
One, two, three, four. You ever seen a lame man walk? Ever heard a dumb man talk? Never seen a blind man see? I promise you a changes. You ever seen a cancer dead? Ever seen all the poor get fed? Ever seen a prisoner set free? I promise you a changes. Changes me. My Lord changes
Internet
me.
kept freezing
Can you hear me now?
What's up, everybody? It's time for the Hawg Slop podcast. I'm your boy, Bigger T, joined as always by my man, Big C. And we got a special guest, y'all. We got Coach and Royalty in the house.
we do, but I'm gonna have to
Clint,
have you go.
introduce the man
No, I'm
for
gonna have to
us.
have you go back to my introduction, Travis. We went over this on the phone.
Oh, I'm
Uh-oh.
sorry.
We went over this on the phone.
I'm
Get it right,
sorry.
Johnson.
I'm joined by my co host, Hall of Famer,
There you go.
Clint
Right there it is.
Shannon Clark.
There it
Look at
is.
him
Hall
holding
of
the
Famer.
medal up. Yeah, and I'm
Oh,
supposed to do a
all right.
curtsy right now, but
Yeah, I know.
coach, I just
You don't
can't
have to
curtsy like I
curtsy.
used to. I'm almost 50 years old. I just
But
can't.
I'm going to tell you, I'm joined by a man today, and I usually goof and I joke around today that I wouldn't have this medal without. And that's former Arkansas Tech head football coach Steve Mullins. But I tell you what else I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have a college degree without Coach Steve Mullins. I wouldn't have had a lot of the things that I've enjoyed in life because had the previous coaching staff that I came to play for stayed, that offensive line coach, me and him, he didn't seem to care for me too much. Probably because lacked the talent baggage that came with my attitude. That might have been why. But I would not be a graduate from Arkansas Tech University. I would not played 4 years of college football without Coach Steve Mullins. Wouldn't be able to call myself a Gulf South Conference champion, nor an Arkansas Tech Hall of Famer had that man not come into my life. And I definitely wouldn't be who I am today. A man that I'm hoping next year I'm calling Stevie Two Chains. Um, he can't reach me, or I wouldn't have called him that because I'm hoping he's going in the Hall of Fame by himself next year because he definitely deserves it. Coach, I love you, and thanks for jumping on the podcast with me, ladies and gentlemen. Legendary head football coach, Mr. Steve Mullins.
Thank you for that introduction, Clint. And, uh, that means a lot to me, especially the part about the college degree. But I am proud of what you've done with yourself.
Thank you.
Well, Coach, and you and we've talked before, have a little connection with, I live down in South Arkansas. You were a South Arkansas boy down
100%.
from Camden. And I've spent a lot of, in fact, I work in Camden schools now and, with the middle school there. But, Coach, what have you been up to, man? What's going on with you?
No, not a whole lot. Since I've retired, we've moved to Little Rock to be close. Two of my three children live in the Little Rock area, and my only grandchild lives here also. And so it's been nice to be around my kids and my daughter-in-law and son-in-law, and it's worked out so well, and love having access to a lot of good places to go eat. And once you get to my age, the simple pleasures are what it's all about.
There you go. So you don't think you think the dining's better in Little Rock than beautiful Las Vegas?
Just more choices. There's some good restaurants in Las Vegas.
You know what's funny is I met Seth Nielsen.
Yep.
Me, him, and Jeremy Patterson all had an Airbnb together, and Seth wanted to go eat Whataburger. And what's funny is when I went to Tech, you could count on one hand how many times I ate at Whataburger. I just didn't go eat there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was more of a Waffle House guy. And so, but we all went, and then of course Horn and Gabe come walking in while we're there. So we had a little mini reunion at the Whataburger too.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you your first question. Because it's one thing it's one thing to ask, because they alluded to, I was thinking about it beforehand, but they also in the video, the introduction for Hall of Fame, they brought it up. So we're 1-2. George Hart just shredded his knee. Mm-hmm. Shane Savoie just had what he has self-described as the worst day of his life.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it was just not. I mean, it was not a good time for him. So you're sitting there. We're 1-2. You're a redshirt and Price the year before, and then you ripped it off of him then because we needed him.
Sure.
And now you're sitting here with the same decision a second year in the row. What is your thought process?
Well, I really felt like in my heart we had a good team, and I can circle back to that in just a minute. But George actually got hurt on a trick play where we set up a quarterback screen to him and threw it back to him. And, George was really a good football player. And when he went down, that was very painful to see. And, he had worked so hard to get at that point. And, the thing about it, at the end of the day with that season, we ended up with 3 total losses, but 2 of the losses were to the 2 teams that met for the national championship.
Yeah. I think by a combined 22 points, neither one of them just took us to the woodshed.
No. And so, we had a core, we had a lot of special guys, and it wasn't a hard decision. We just had to do what was best to try to win games. And I know, and I love Shane to death, and he did have a bad game. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And, and obviously when Josh came in, things started getting a lot better, and we got on a roll, obviously, to win the conference championship.
Yeah. At what point during that season, when we were going through that, did you really think, oh, okay, we've got a shot? Because I remember we'd come into I can't remember the name of the building now. I don't remember a lot of buildings where they had classes, Coach. I try to forget. I know where Stroop was. But yeah.
I thought you spent all your time in the library. I thought that was your second home.
And the Waffle House. Anyway, so we had the meeting every day, and I remember every game. You're like, okay, here's where it is, and here's because we knew what we were building towards, and you just kept going. But at what point were you like, all right, we have a legit shot at this?
To me, the thing that really hit home to me is when we went out and we dismantled West Georgia. And at that point, West Georgia was an extremely good football team and probably the most talented team in the league. Yeah. I mean, they had some bona fide players out there. And, we were both going along pretty good. We beat North Alabama. We beat Valdosta that year. But the West Georgia game I knew was going to be a big challenge. And we just went out there and ran up and down the field on them. It was, at that point, I don't know what, it really triggered something inside of me. Like, this is really a good special group. Because I thought West Georgia had more talent than we did. I really did.
Well, I do remember before the game, you'd made a point about their pants. Do you want to tell the story about the West Georgia pants and how
I'm not sure. I don't know if I remember this story. Let's see what the story is.
So you said that if, like, when for big games, and you may have made this up to motivate.
No, I would never lie about anything.
Okay, if you made it up,
that's a lie right there.
If you made it up, please tell me. So you said, like, for big games, they would wear red pants. Like they wore white or blue pants because they kind of had the Buffalo Bills color scheme.
Yeah, they sure did.
And you said for big games, they would wear red pants. And so we all showed up expecting them to be wearing red pants. And they were wearing their regular pants. And we felt insulted.
Well, good. That's just the way you should have felt.
That's right.
Whether that was true or not, but that you had the right attitude.
There you go. But I think we were all because you'd even brought up they're not wearing the pants. They're not wearing. So we were ticked. And then Ed Duncan took a ball from the one on, I think, the first play of the game, 98 yards.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And what was it? I think the turf monster got him on the one. I don't.
Yep.
And he tripped up at the one, and we ended up scoring. And the rest of the game seemed to go that way. It was definitely.
Price had a good game throwing the ball. I remember several catches that Strother made that were outstanding. I thought our special teams were good. There's a defensive play, and I'm not quite recalling it, that I thought was a big-time play in there. It had to do with the turnover, and now I can't remember the specifics.
So, all right, I got one trivia question for you because I didn't know it until this weekend, and Charlie Larimore told me, because we all know Charlie recovered the fumble that clinched the Gulf South. Do you know who caused it?
No, who did?
Willie Mo Henry.
All right.
I didn't know to this weekend because Charlie told me, because, you know who caused it? Mo. So I was like, yeah. I said, we all remember who recovered it, as seems to.
Well, I can remember I had a perfect spot on the sideline. And when the ball came loose, I mean, my heart just about stopped. I mean, I saw the ball on the ground. And then when Charlie jumped on it, I literally was stunned for probably at least 5 seconds, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
To realize that was the championship, done, over with. Yeah. And that was a special time.
Yeah,
Mo's team, he's on a 2-game winning streak right now.
There you go. Oh, where's Mo at now?
He's the head coach at Van Buren.
Oh, okay. The Pointers.
Yep.
The Van Buren Pointers. Yeah. How many high school head coaches do you have right now in the state of Arkansas? Well,
I've never counted, but it was amazing how many that are out there, and so many of them are successful. And it's not just people that have played for us, but it's been like GAs and assistant coaches that have gone on. And it was funny. There was another guy that GA for me that I ran into at our banquet on Saturday. And he was there for somebody else. And I kept looking at him. I'm like, well, I know that guy. Anyway, Scott was a really good GA for us. And this was not at Tech. This was at another university I was at where he was a GA for me. But I was shocked to see him. But anyway, it's been a great coaching tree. And, there's still guys out there that I keep up with. And, it makes me feel good to see them have success.
Now, did Drinkwitz coach underneath you, or is he just in a different?
No, never, no contact at all.
Okay.
He got.
I'm sure he rubbed off on him. He got it all from you. You're
No,
being
I'm not.
modest now.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
sit under the learning tree of Steve Mullins. Don't lie.
No, it has to be some kind of osmosis thing that happened.
I'm
No,
glad. I'm glad. Even if you did, I'm glad you didn't claim it. So that's one of
no.
those coaches' lies we'll accept right there. Yeah. No.
Well, he's done a good job at Missouri, and
Yeah.
he got hooked up with Malzahn, and that's how he built his career. And the thing that catches my eye a lot is some of the recruits that he gets at Missouri.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're a little bit like Arkansas. They're the only game in town in the whole state, and they've got the Kansas City area and the St. Louis area to recruit. But uh, they get some bona fide football players up there.
Yeah.
They do. They always seem like they have a couple 5 stars up there in Missouri that just
They sure do.
seem to play like 5 stars.
Well, they've
Oh, yeah.
come into Arkansas and got a couple of decent ones too. There.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have.
Of course, we got one of them back. Of course, what what was
Yeah, I read
the,
about him in the paper today.
what was the word that Petrino used about him being fat?
Yeah, he's a little out of condition.
He used some word for he called it. It was like
Yeah, I can't remember now.
some kind of a different kind of. He said he had too much posthumous or something. That wasn't it, but it was something like that tissue. And then like Trey Biddy was like, "What was that?" And it's just that it's kind of a nice way of saying he had a little fat on his belly.
Mullins would have just came out and said it.
Yes, well,
I remember like when we first got to Tech, we'd always go get the paper and see what they wrote about us because stroke our own egos and such. And I remember seeing Coach Mullins like the condition of the offensive line is horrible. We'll just put that article away.
Yeah.
Well, and I made reference to this at the banquet on Saturday. Used to, and of course, rules are a lot different now. But we had true two-a-days, and then what we would do, we wouldn't condition in either one of the practices, but we would go out at 2:00 in the afternoon and condition.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people would run, just come out there in a t-shirt and shorts. And if they wanted to wear shoes, they could. Didn't matter. If they wanted to toughen up their feet. But then, you remember how we used to line up by groups.
No,
So
yeah.
all the big guys were together, not running against the DBs, and all the skill guys were together. But when the offensive line started peeling their shirts off as they're running those gassers, there were several wrecks out on Highway 7.
That was just the women ogling at me, Coach.
Yeah, no
They're
doubt.
human.
No doubt.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that it kind of just burned their eyes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're having to bend over in their car to throw up.
Yeah. It was,
Coach,
it was something to watch.
that's an interesting thing you brought up. I want to ask you about that because, one of the things with the Razorbacks, I was, me and Clint were big time Sam Pittman supporters, right? And
Sure.
I always enjoyed his press conferences mainly because he was just such an honest guy. But one of his
100%.
problems was he was so honest, too. Sometimes he was too honest. But after the Memphis game, one of the reasons he said that the team looked like they were not putting out effort and all that, he said, well, it's been unseasonably cool in Northwest Arkansas. And that was the first time they'd been in heat like that in the middle of the day. Okay. Now you mentioned the conditioning, and in your day you were able to do, you just get out and just flat run them, just like you're talking about, where you just focused on conditioning. And from what I understand, and of course I'm not as connected as you are to it, and maybe not seen it, but with the time constraints, a lot of coaches have gotten to where they, instead of doing that, they work the conditioning into the practice itself. Whereas they do high speed practices. They don't do like tackling drills as much, but they work that into the practice, to where that's part of practice also. Is that correct? Do you think that's kind of the way things are a little more now?
Yeah, and obviously the times have changed, and the up tempo offense, and obviously when you have up tempo offense, you've got to have an up tempo defense to match it.
Mm,
And so there are a lot of people that that's their conditioning.
mm,
And in the bigger programs, they have things that measure how much you run during practice,
mm.
and they have certain limits that usually like the wide receivers and the DBs hit. And
Yeah.
once they hit a certain point, then they shut them down during practice.
Hmm.
But I did see, I saw Coach Pittman's quote about the heat and stuff, but I also heard one of his players say, well, Memphis had to play in the heat too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I kind of admired the guy for saying that.
That's right.
He was not looking to make an excuse, and I cannot remember which player said
Well, I think or your first year there, Coach. We went. I can't remember what we went, but it wasn't good.
that. We went my very first year.
Yes, sir.
We went 4-7.
4-7. But you also the circumstances, the 8 ball that you were behind, coming in the way you did, and you had pretty much the fall camp, and that was it. Of course, we didn't realize how strange that was at the time. So you didn't have like, I mean, we just did it. You're kids, so you just don't know any better.
That's
You
right.
just show up. You just show up and you play for who's coaching you, and that's what you do. But you had the quote in the paper that the shape of the offensive line was horrible, and we went 4-7.
Well, let me add to that just a little bit, and this is
Okay.
this is factual,
Oh no, it was. We were in terrible shape.
and I'm not trying to be whatever, but I took the job on July 2nd, so I'm taking over somebody else's team, and I have one coach, which was Coach Racono, you talked about earlier,
Yeah,
and everybody else was part of the old coaching staff.
yeah, I remember that.
As we are prepping for the beginning of two-a-days, the whole time I'm being told about this conditioning drill.
Yeah, the conditioning test. Yeah,
And it involves 16 110s, and everybody had a certain time that they had to make. And
right.
this is a big deal, big deal, big deal. That's all I heard for a month before you guys showed up. And if you remember, we went out and it's dusk. We had the lights on the field as we're running, and we start this conditioning drill, and it's supposed to be 16 110s, and you're going to hit this time and all this. Well, we're on number 2. Players are not quite making their times yet.
Yeah,
Then I don't know if you remember this, but I remember distinctly. Then we get to number 3. Then we get to number 4, and I have to be respectful and watch my language as I'm talking to you guys.
Yo.
I was like, no, we're stopping here. I don't know if you remember, but I stopped the drill because after we've run 4, we had over half the team not making their times.
Yeah.
And I'm
No,
thinking,
I never was a
built up to.
no, and I never was a big drinker, but I remember Jumbo crushing a beer can and saying, "Yeah, I'm in shape," and so I can tell you, your quote was not unjustified.
But it wasn't just the offensive line. I mean, we had skill guys that weren't making their times either.
But then you fast forward to '99.
Oh,
We showed up in shape. I mean, I worked out my junior year the entire summer with DJ Crane. That's how I got ready. Yeah, I know he was a great one to work out with. I owe that guy a lot too. Shout out to DJ Crane, head coach of the Danville Little Johns.
Yeah, they won this past weekend too.
Oh, good. So, Coach, you're talking about you took over behind the 8 ball. Petrino's kind of doing it worse. He's got a 2, and I knew if they were going to fire Pittman, it would be after the Notre Dame game because of the bye week, and that would. And everybody knew Petrino. I mean, you just look at it, you knew Petrino was going to take over, and then. So obviously the offense has kind of been working, but the defense not so much. He made some changes on the defensive staff. The players are still going to be the players. I mean, they're not. You can't go out and recruit a new team.
Correct.
How much can you change? What would you do if you were in that situation?
Well, the somewhat the advantage at a large school, at a Power Four school, if you'll pull up any of those schools and you look at the coaching staff, or no, let's say the support staff. If you go to Alabama, their support staff is 30 something people, with the analyst and whatever kind of title you want to give them. So there's a lot of good, it's not like at Division II where you have GAs and they're all 22 years old and they've never coached before. A lot of these big schools, they have really good coaches that aren't part of the 10-man, or I guess it's 10-man staff, that are sitting over there making $150,000 for being an analyst.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, maybe more. And so there is a slight advantage that they've got some really good people sitting on the sideline that they can immediately, that have been there the whole time, that know the kids, know their abilities, or know their weaknesses. And so you're not really starting from scratch. And I think he brought in, I guess, Marvin Lewis, guy as old as I, or not quite as old as I am, but an old guy. And as far as I know, that's the only new person he brought in. Now there might be some more. I'm not in on anything up there.
Right. Yeah.
So and what he talked about in this day and age, and he's correct. This is all a tryout. It's not only a tryout for him to try to become the head coach again, but as you talk about the transfer portal, as you talk about trying to take advantage of increasing your NIL worth, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And, if you are a guy that is not playing with much effort, we'll find somebody that's at least going to give effort, at least try to make a tackle. And,
yeah.
And I don't watch, I don't go like a lot of people. I don't go back and watch the game and all that kind of stuff. And so I can't give you any specifics. I listen to what comes out of the coaches' mouths.
Yeah.
And they've been disappointed in the effort of players.
Yeah.
And, the portal works both ways. A lot of times coaching staff brings a guy in and say, you know what, Clint, probably be on your, best behavior. You probably need to move on down the road. That's probably what's best for you. And other words, you're not going to have anything here, son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you better get out.
Well, I mean, that's
So,
the dirt. Yeah.
As you start to build to win a championship the next year, you got to show your worth too.
No,
That's
there's
right.
quite there's a lot of dollars and cents on the
Hear anything at all.
line with these kids right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not just Bobby Petrino, trying to audition for the job. A lot of these guys are having an audition of their own.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was wise of Petrino to go, in his first meeting, he said, that's what he told him. He said, look, you're putting game film on for your future, whether it's here at Arkansas, whether it's at another school. He didn't say, hey, we're trying to build for the future at Arkansas. He's like, look, he said, all of us coaches, we may be we're trying to put something together for, down the road. Look at the way, when Petrino left years ago, was it 13, 14 years ago, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that team, how much, that team was a talented team. What have those coaches that were on that team that next year under John L. Smith, what have they done since then? Because
Oh
they
yeah.
put some terrible stuff on film. They did. It didn't look good. And so those guys really, those coaches had to go kind of restart their career, and those players didn't have much to go into their future either. So,
Oh sure.
and so I think, I think he was wise in challenging them that way, saying, look, whether you like it or not, we got this whole season left, a lot of seasons, a lot of games left. And what you do now is going to echo in at the end of the season what it looks like. And so
Oh yeah.
hopefully they come out and play with some of that.
Well,
So
with the portal / free agent way it's set up now, uh, it's so important to perform.
Mm.
And I'm gonna make this is truly made up numbers, 100% not factual. But I'm sitting around and I'm pulling in 200,000 a year, and all of a sudden, every time somebody looks at me, I'm missing a tackle or I'm not hustling. And the team I'm presently playing for, they're going to say, no, you're not in our future plans.
Yeah.
And so then as people start watching the video, I see where old Clint Clark's in the portal, and I see Clint with half donkey effort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say pass.
yeah.
I'm sitting here making 200,000, but I'm not doing anything. And when people start evaluating me, I'm about to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't understand how guys are not motivated nowadays.
Oh yeah.
And it's not just Arkansas. I watch a lot of football, and I see people that I'm just like, I cannot believe the effort that they're putting in.
Yeah.
It's a weird deal.
Well, and I'm going to use Arkansas's former quarterback. He's graduated now. Like KJ Jefferson, for example. KJ pre-NIL money, KJ post-NIL money are two different players.
Yeah.
You never know how someone's going to react when they have money in their pocket.
No doubt. No doubt.
I guarantee you give 20-year-old Clint Clark some $200K, and dumb stuff's about to happen.
100%.
I mean, it just is. I mean, you coach 20-year-old Clint Clark. It would have been a terrible idea to give me that kind of money.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, and to think too, like Coach, I think you were alluding to, you would think that would be a motivating factor because the more the
Better you play,
fans
the more you
appreciate
go
how
back.
you play, the more that means more, merchandise you can sell. That means more businesses are going to want you to be in their commercials and they're going to pay you a little bit for that. The more marketable you are, if you want to go to a bigger school that's competing for a national championship, you got a chance to move up to do that. Okay. If you're at Arkansas and they're bottom of the SEC, and you're putting on some good tape there, you can go to a Georgia or Alabama or something like that if you put if you're showing out and putting a lot of effort and showing your talent. But what we seem to see is so many of them, like you said, are not doing that. And I think what Clint says is what ends up happening. What happened to KJ Jefferson? They get that money and they just get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
We told you earlier we interviewed Cam Ball on here, and one thing that impressed us about him is he said he doesn't get so caught up in the NIL money. He said he likes it, he enjoys it, he appreciates it.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah,
He said, but he said I'm working for that second contract in the NFL. He said that's life-changing money. He said this money now is nice and it's definitely a blessing, but he said I have bigger goals than that. And
Well, good for him.
that's the kind of attitude you want these guys to have, but like you said, so many of them don't have that. And
Yeah, you would like to see people stay hungry.
Now, Coach, you've coached a lot of football, and that means you've recruited a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're recruiting offensive linemen, even at the D2 level or defense linemen, just players in general, what are you looking for on film from at a player, especially like an offensive lineman, for example?
Well, to me, an offensive lineman, particularly a successful offensive lineman, the first thing you look for is flexibility. And we're talking about obviously in his hips and knees and ankles. And you see some large human beings that can't bend very well, and they do take up a lot of space. But at the end of the day, speed's going to get to them every time. I mean, when you can't bend, you can't push out and do some of the things that you need to do. Always look for aggression. Always look for aggression. Is the guy successful just because he's bigger than everybody else, or is he successful because he will move his feet and he wants to dominate that person? That would be the first thing. And then obviously for an offensive lineman, intelligence is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that because you're an offensive lineman.
Well,
but that's a given, how brilliant you are.
That's true. Thank you, Coach.
Well, Coach, actually, I'm over here. I'm like, how in the world did Clint make the team? Because I'm trying to do this.
Clint probably took a lot. Right, Clint took a lot of abuse.
Flexibility. I know.
I did. I did it. Like I said, I tell you, the only superstar part about me was my attitude and ego. But like I said, I didn't have that talent baggage to rely on.
That's right.
But no.
So, yeah.
But you look for quickness.
Yeah.
Can the guy move his feet?
Yeah.
Never ever concerned about a 40 time for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
How quick can he move for 2 yards is a lot more important. Right. And some of the big guys, they're plotters. And once again, if you're a plotter, that defensive lineman's already run by you before you get in position.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you this, and you may not want to answer it, and you can dance around it like a politician if you want to.
Ready.
When you were breaking down film for offensive linemen, who was the best one you've ever broke down in high school?
I do not remember.
Okay, no,
that's not a political answer. I don't.
No. Well, and you never, in your defense, I was already at Tech when you got there. You probably had never seen my tape. So,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You'd never seen the Greenbrier class of 1994, baby. You hadn't seen it.
That's right. Yeah.
But I will tell you this: as I'm around you guys this weekend, it was a reminder of a lot of things, and we've kind of talked about it the last time we talked. But in today's portal situation, I think back, I reflect back to my teams that won 8, 9, 10, 11 games, the real successful teams. And a lot of those guys, they wouldn't have been at Tech but a year. Somebody would have come and got them.
That's right.
And so I'm hanging around with you guys this weekend, and I'm not a big person, but I'm not a small person. Yeah. And, a lot of these linemen, they're huge human beings. And I look at them and I think about how some of them could move their feet. And I'm thinking, that guy, I would have had him a year. That guy, maybe 2 years. I mean, there's just so many people I looked at that I thought, there was no way that we could have built and had the success over the long term because they wouldn't have been around long enough.
Well, Coach, I would have still been there.
I know that. That's the one thing that would kept me going.
Hey, Coach, and that was something too I thought about with, when reflecting on Sam Pittman's time at Arkansas. If he would have been in the time pre-portal, pre-NIL, I think he would have had a pretty daggum good career at Arkansas because I think he
would too.
I think the way he recruits and the way he recruited when he first got there, and the way he did when he was under Bielema, I think, I think it would be I think we'd be talking about him like we do Houston Nutt. Maybe even of course, it's different. SEC is different than what Hatfield was going against, but
no doubt.
But but I mean, we'd be talking about him like one of those guys.
Well,
instead
I do
of being
everything that I know, he's a relationship builder.
That's right.
Relationships, and the longer you stay in a relationship, the better it is.
Yeah.
But nowadays, particularly with all the tampering that goes on.
Oh yeah.
It's not, no matter what you read in the paper, and I'm sorry, it's not about relationships.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's the same thing. If I had a son that was good enough to play college football and whatever, Alabama offered him $200,000 and Kent State offered him $400,000, I'd say you need to go to Kent State.
Yeah.
They're offering you twice as much money. Yeah. And that's what happens now. all these guys have got their agents, and
Yeah.
you are constantly re-recruiting your team. And
Well,
nobody needs to be naive enough to know that every single player on Arkansas's team that has above average ability, they've already been contacted multiple times.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times. And it's probably all running through their agent. I get that.
Yeah.
But, it still is a bad look if the coach at UAM is calling the player.
Yeah.
But if the coach at UAM is calling Clint Clark the agent, well, that's the filter. And, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but it's all about the money. It's all
No,
about
yeah, and I mean it's legalized cheating too. I mean and no one's gonna do anything about it. So it's like it's the wild, wild west out there. It just it is a shame because I've said on this podcast where I think there's nothing less important than high school recruiting in college football right now.
Yeah.
It's just not because people just and it's not you'd go in and I remember when you got there in July, like you went to Matt Nelson's house and you re-recruited him. Like you were big on those relationships and wanted to build the relationships. Seth talked about coming over and eating all your gumbo and you had to figure out what you're going to feed your kids for dinner because you were big on those relationships and that's just not that way anymore. It's like, okay, the team A is going to give me X amount. And
Well,
I don't know to what degree any of that goes on in D2. It probably doesn't go on as much.
not as much, but it's getting more prevalent, particularly in
Yeah.
sports of men's and women's basketball.
Okay.
Well, Pittman in the offseason, I thought gave a great illustration of what happened. I think he was telling us exactly what happened with the guys that went to Ole Miss from Arkansas. And he said it's tough because he said you got a player. He said, and one school tells you, he said, LSU may tell you, well, he said we may be paying them $20, but LSU says they'll pay them $40. They tell them through somebody, like you said, like an agent or family member or something.
Yep.
And then someone else says, well, hey, we'll pay them $60. And he said, and then they come in and talk to me, and he said it's no longer about negotiating because they're mad because they think I've been underpaying them all this time because someone else is saying they're worth 60. I've just been paying them 20. I don't even have a chance to try to re-recruit them because they've already got this idea that, they're mad at me saying that I'm, and I think that's part of what ends up happening with these guys. I think he was telling us that's what happened with like a Luke Haas or one of those guys that ended up going to Ole Miss on him. And that's just crazy to think about. But I mean, that's the world we live in right now with college football for sure.
Oh, it is. It is. And I've told you guys before, I've still got a lot of friends and people that work for me that are still in the game. And it's hard to find a coach that's really enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just tough when you walk into your meeting room knowing that, I'm sitting there with a dozen guys and there were probably 6 of them. And I'm just making up numbers, but there's 6 of them that were contacted last night about transfer.
Yeah.
So that guy's sitting there listening to me, not really. And he's thinking about, well, I can go to school X and make this much more money. And I'm trying to tell him about, here's the technique, here's the new play that we're putting in. And he's thinking about, I wonder what their campus is like over there.
Yeah.
I wonder, what's the girl situation over there.
Yeah.
Wonder what kind of neat places there are to hang out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get him to focus on Tennessee or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, Coach, is you're an assistant coach on that team. And you got 5-10 guys making more money than you that you're trying to coach.
No doubt.
And now
I'm
you would
telling you,
have
the sport that it's happening worse in is basketball.
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh,
you're dealing with a smaller number of players, and you can get a couple of really good players, and all of a sudden you got a really
that's
good
right.
team, and those guys are making a bunch, and girls
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the elite level.
Well,
And what
and that was happening in the NFL, and it was kind of normal. But you're talking about these are college kids that you're still having to train them a lot.
well,
You're not honing skills. You're still trying to teach them a lot, and they're making more money than you are now. I mean, that's got to be a weird. And you chose to coach college because you don't want to deal with the prima donnas in the NFL. Now all of a sudden, you got a room full of prima donnas. you know.
well, and the thing, NFL, the advantage they have, they got a salary cap.
Yeah.
And I know they
Yeah.
can manipulate a few things, but at the end of the day, everybody's kind of equal.
Yeah. And they
And
have contracts.
yeah, and the contract's going to go from here to here.
Yeah.
And uh, the former coaches of mine that are coaching in the NFL right now, they tell me to a man that the players really do listen hard
Mhm.
and try to do what you tell them to do if they think you're making them a better player.
Yeah.
Because it's just like you talked about, getting that second NFL contract is what the key is.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
as you're coaching them and you're saying you need to do this, this, and this to be successful, I mean, they're trying really hard to do it because they want to be successful. They want to get that second contract, maybe even third, but second for sure. And they're a little more responsive.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, the salary cap sure helps. And
Yeah.
I know they're trying to get Congress involved and all that other carrying on to come up with a uniform thing, and it's just like what they did in the state of Arkansas. We're going to have the guys where they don't have to pay personal income tax on their money.
Yeah.
Now think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. I'm this is not political. I'm just talking. But, you've got the guy working down at Walmart or Tyson or wherever it might be. And I've got a family and kids to support, and I've got to pay my income tax. But here's a guy at the University of Arkansas make up a number, $400,000, and he doesn't have to pay income tax.
Yeah.
Bull crap.
Yeah.
Bull crap. And once again, I'm cleaning up my language. I can't say what I want to say.
No, I know you, Coach. I know you very well.
But what I'm saying is, you got to do this because in the state of Florida, they don't have personal income tax, and we're trying to get recruits.
Yeah.
And Florida can offer less money, but because they don't have to pay. Texas doesn't have personal income tax.
Yeah.
So for us to be competitive in recruiting, we've got to change the rules.
That's right.
And it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Just bizarre.
Well, and the other thing, Coach, is now they're allowing NIL. In the new law, if you commit to a college as a high school player, that you can start getting NIL money while you're still in high school. I think they're doing that in Louisiana, but I think they've passed it.
Yeah,
to where it's
and I was
gonna
thinking
happen
there
in
was some kind of
Arkansas.
rule, and I could be 100% wrong on this, that you have to complete your eligibility. I think.
Okay. I thought you could
I,
start.
I, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Well, I think in Louisiana you can start when you're 16.
Yeah, we don't
But
do
I thought that-
research on this show.
Yeah, but I was thinking it was something like.
We
But
just
still,
don't.
I mean, a high school kid can start. I mean, start getting funds right away.
Yeah. How about that?
And then how about the rule about the JUCO doesn't count against you?
Oh my gosh.
See, no.
When the guy
Seth
at
was
Vanderbilt-
telling them. Seth was telling them at Tech he had 2 more years.
He was right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
got a
got
good lawyer.
I don't think I don't listen. You remember coaching Seth, Coach? Is it Coach Parker? I'm brain farting on his name now. The new
Who?
head coach at Tech,
Thompson.
Coach Thompson. Coach
Yeah.
Thompson don't want that headache.
Yeah.
Just go call him up and say, just no, just no.
Well,
The
but I
thing
mean,
I remember most-
a guy can legitimately go for 6 years. Well, 7 if you redshirt.
Well, and here's the other thing. if you want to keep being absurd about it, okay, I couldn't earn what I needed to earn while I was in junior college.
Yeah.
And let's say after those 2 years, I go to Arkansas State
Yeah.
and they're paying me $100,000.
Right.
Well, at Arkansas State, I didn't make as much as I could have earned, because 2 years later I go to Ole Miss and now I'm making 300,000. At what point does it stop?
Yeah.
At what point does it stop?
Yeah.
And 6 years of eligibility, those junior colleges, they ought to be doing backflips.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Come here and this is what happened, and you're going to increase your earning power because you're going to be 20 years old instead of 18, and look what's going to happen.
If I was a baseball player that was just, I would start in JUCO, work my way up, and try to get into a 4-year school that way. I mean, because there's so many of these little schools. SAU Tech in Camden has a baseball team now. So you could get into a team like that, and if you develop while you're there, you can get in somewhere. You could play baseball and
have 4 more years. You can make money.
You should walk on right now, Travis.
I should. Yeah.
Play the old 3-bagger.
Yeah.
Now,
no chance.
Now, Coach, you have
instead of guys graduating with their masters now, there's going to be guys graduating with their doctorates.
Kidding.
School for so long.
Oh, it's going to happen for sure.
Now, Coach, you're in a unique position because you won an AIC championship as a player, won a Gulf South Conference championship at Arkansas Tech. Now, how many AIC championships does Monticello have?
Not very many.
Well, I don't know. I knew it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trolling you.
No. Probably back in the they had a run back, I think, in the 60s where they were pretty successful.
Okay.
But how many? I don't think, maybe one more in this entire time.
So which one was sweeter? Winning it as a head football coach or winning it as a player? I know there got to be, it's probably the answer is yes. They're good. But
two totally different perspectives.
Yeah.
The things that I felt winning as a player, as you well know, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, you're isolated in your thought process and what it really means. At the end of the day, you're a really good defensive lineman. You hang around with these guys, and that's kind of your world. But when you're a head coach, you've got to get all 100 guys or whatever that number is moving in the same direction. When you're a player, you're not really worried about it. You're just worried about surviving practice and hope I have a good game on Saturday. But as a coach, you got 10,000 other worries. And I guess from the satisfaction standpoint, the coaching a championship team, coaching, we had other teams that made the NCAA playoffs and went a little bit deeper. And the emotional part, I guess, maybe more so as a player, because UAM had been down so long.
Right.
And, getting your brain, my freshman year, we went 2-9. We beat 2 teams. We beat UAPB first game of the year on a Hail Mary pass, and we beat Arkansas Tech. Okay. Those are the only 2 games we won. And when the first game against UAPB, we had 3 freshmen that started that game. The last game of the year was against SAU, and we had 13 true freshmen that were starting. So, yeah, we were getting our butts handed to us.
Yeah.
Coach, I had another coaching question for you.
Ready?
Penn State this last weekend went to UCLA. And
whatever you're going to ask me, I can't explain it, but go ahead.
well, here was the thing. One of the excuses Penn State had was the travel through 3 time zones to have to play. Now, and that's the world we live in, right? With these crazy conferences they don't care about regions anymore. There's no, it doesn't matter what, with travel. So how good of an excuse is the travel through three time zones for a team?
You don't know how bad I want to curse.
Well, Coach, I will tell you this. I remember that game in Carrollton, Georgia, where we throttled West Georgia. We're all but, I believe, one player on the team played. I don't want to. I don't want to say who it is, but he's on this podcast. Um, anyway, no. So I just remember that we traveled there on sleeper buses,
Correct.
and I remember spooning with Chris Eastburn.
What a
We're both
partner.
seniors. Why were we sharing a bunk? It made no sense. I did steal a freshman's bunk later on
Good for you.
because,
Good
I
call.
still had senior seniority. I just, once again, no talent baggage. But what I'm saying is that is an absolute ridiculous excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, it makes me sick to my stomach. I think, get your ass on a bus after a night game and ride on it for a dozen hours and get back to your campus like at 8 o'clock in the morning when the sun, you get to see the sun come up.
I was
And
gonna say y'all were making trips to Valdosta, Georgia.
yes,
Like
Carrollton, Georgia. And I'm gonna tell you, even West Alabama was a hard trip. It
Yeah.
was a hard trip. It was so nice and easy because it was only like an 8-hour trip.
Yeah.
There were some long bus rides in the Gulf South
And
Conference.
that 3.5 hour flight from Pennsylvania to LA.
Oh,
Nothing.
well, and not only that, and I'm not trying to, I'm going to speak in generalities now, but as I have read, and this is not just under Coach Pittman, this is under previous coaches, about how hard it is for them to go all the way from Fayetteville to Little Rock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
I know.
And
I know.
what are we going to do? Are we going to fly to Memphis? Are we going to bus to Memphis? It's such a hard decision.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, are you kidding me?
I
And
know.
then, that's the different world that you live in.
We're
But
playing football, man. We're not.
No, you can have no because there's been the great Arkansas Stadium bait since I've been alive. Probably since you've been alive, Coach. You're a couple years older than me.
just a few.
Just a few. But you also had to deal with that at Arkansas Tech because we played one game a year when you got there at Alma.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, you chuckled there. So I'm guessing you were not a fan of playing at Alma.
I didn't want to give up a home game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, the circumstances of that are, we were going over, and it was at that time nice, but we're going over to play at a high school stadium.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was the first game of my first season, and we're playing Harding. So we drive from Russellville to go over there. Harding drives past Russellville to go to Alma. Just a weird deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the next year we played Southwest Baptist, I believe.
Yeah, and it's probably made it easier on them.
Yeah, it was. They had nice facilities, but it was weird to me too that they did that. And so I'm just saying, it's
Yeah.
See,
A long time ago, one of my best friends is coaching at Ole Miss, and they are playing LSU. And now you've got to remember, this is back in the 90s. And so they go up to Memphis. I can't remember if it's Memphis or Tupelo. I think it was Memphis, to fly from there to Baton Rouge. And, you still had all the check-in and the equipment and all that kind of stuff. So the bus driver takes them up there, drops them off at the airport, and then he leaves. They fly into Baton Rouge, and the same guy that dropped them off in Memphis picked them up at the Baton Rouge airport. I'll never forget that story.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, that is crazy.
That's awesome.
But they've got that kind of money, and
Yeah.
I'm all about treating the players the best you can treat them, and and kind of like what Kelly just said. There's no crying on the yacht as they're talking
Yeah.
about the transfer portal. But anyway,
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so do you watch it? Have you watched any Ole Miss this year and saw Trinidad Chambliss,
yes.
Division II? Do you think that just proves what kind of talent is actually in Division II?
Well, sure there is. Sure
Yeah.
there is. There's other guys that have gone on from Division II. The last guy that got drafted at UCA was a Southern Arkansas guy.
Yeah.
He came from SAU.
Yeah, he's
And
down at
Tampa
Tampa, but he got hurt. But
got
yeah,
hurt. Yeah.
yeah, I follow him on Instagram. He's a neat guy.
Well,
Yeah.
in speaking of that, Isaac Tesla,
Yeah.
playing for Detroit, was a
Oh
Division
yeah.
two was a Division II player. But I want to bring him up. I brought him up for a specific reason. I know we're going to we're going over the hour today.
Okay.
So, but
I'll
that's
shut up when you guys
no,
finish.
that's fine. Keep talking. But he played quarterback in high school. He's like, I don't blame him for not recruiting me, but he played.
Yeah.
Was that an accurate statistic they gave him the Hall? Was there 36 ex high school quarterbacks on that team?
Never heard that before in my entire life.
Okay.
Until
Well, I knew because I can name about 10. Like I know Darren Capella, B.J. Byer, Brandon Lawrence,
Chris Taylor.
Chris Taylor. All four of those guys played quarterback in high school, and then I figured, you've got. I'm sure there was more than that. I think I named more than that, but I was like, man, there was quite a few. Sturt Cash played quarterback in high school. So what would make someone look at a quarterback in high school and go, you know what? I bet he'd make a pretty good tight end.
Frame.
Yeah.
Frame.
It's
Okay.
all has to do with what kind of frame do you have.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's happened to quite a few tight ends through the years, I think.
Well,
yeah.
if you look at Brandon Lawrence, he was my first roommate when I got to Tech, and he hated
Oh, really?
staying.
Okay.
He hated staying with me for the 2 weeks of two-a-days. It was said it was the longest 2 weeks of his life.
Oh no.
He was like, yeah. They came in, they go, what do you want to do about your rooms? He's like, literally put me anywhere else.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad, but it was close. But you look at Brandon Lawrence, he was what, 6'5", 6'6"?
Yeah, he's probably 6'5". Yeah.
I'd say probably about 240 back then. I mean, he's your prototypical, just look like. I mean, you look like a tight end. So I totally see what you're talking about now.
Well, look at former Razorback Felipe Franks. He's in the NFL as a tight end now. He
He had a great frame on him too, no doubt.
he was a quarter. Helped get Pittman started at Arkansas, I guess. And had a decent time at Florida. So
Well, and I know we're coming near the end of time, Coach, and I thank you so much for coming on. But I do want to say this, and I said I was going to make this point, and I made it earlier. And I know you don't like the nickname Stevie Two Chains, but what I'm saying is, 2026, Arkansas Tech University, do the right thing, put this man in the Hall of Fame by himself. It is not Arkansas Tech without head coach Steve Mullins, without the athletic director Steve Mullins. The Great American Conference probably isn't even a thing without Steve Mullins. So I'm going to name some other names too. Because, I'm thankful for a lot of things in my life. I love my wife. I love Travis. I love you, Coach. One of the other things I love is the right foot of Paul Pellets. Because we're not in the Hall of Fame without Paul Pellets. He was an All-American. Put him in the Hall of Fame. All-American Stu Cash. Put him in the Hall of Fame.
Fantastic punt return.
Josh Price. Still the all-time leading passer in Arkansas Tech University history. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Ed Duncan. And I'm sure you can name more, Coach, but I'm going to close with this one. Big Todd Matthews.
Great player.
I'm sure you might have coached better offensive linemen, but you didn't realize how good of a leader Todd was on the offensive line. I don't even know if I realized how good of a leader he was until Saturday. Because the way everybody gravitated to him, and it just seems natural that, when you have a team like that and you have leaders, no one has to go, hey, I'm the leader.
Well, and as you talk about satisfaction out of coaching, and you've seen this, and now you're old enough and mature enough to realize it even more. But you go back and you look at where guys were when you first met them and where they ended up. And, Todd's a great example of that. Great example. We talked about Jumbo a little bit. Jumbo is another great example, but it's so, as you think back to the old times with the old 2-a-days and 3-a-days and all that kind of stuff, particularly if you're a large human being, it's so easy to quit.
Yeah.
So easy to quit. Screw it. I'm hot. I'm tired. I hurt everywhere. I hit people all day long. I quit. So easy to quit.
Yeah.
And then there's guys that say, you know what? I'm a little bit tougher than all this. And I'm going to stick it out and I'm going to, show people. And that's something as a coach, you appreciate the guys that got enough about them that they say, I'm just a little bit tougher than all this. I can make it through and I'm going to succeed.
Yeah.
Well,
no, and I think we definitely have those guys. And I can't remember which game it was, but there was one game we were playing absolutely terrible. And you knew what you were doing. I'm old enough and wise enough now. I knew you knew what you were doing. You just said, I can't even talk to you guys right now, and you walked off. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to rely on good leadership for that.
You got it, but
Sure.
do you remember who stepped up and talked?
You're talking about practice or a game?
It was a game. It was a halftime of a game.
All right, who was it?
It was Chris Eastburn. And that was on that 99.
Yep,
Chris Eastburn got up and said, no. And they got together. I mean, but that was it. You were good at holding us accountable, but we were also really good at holding each other accountable. And that's kind of why I think this Razorback team, if they want to turn this around, there's only so much Petrino can do. There comes a time in that locker room, I never played, but I still, when we had the scout team down there, I was down there helping get the scout team, the freshmen, right. And I was trying to do that. And I was joking, Coach, because I was telling them, I said, I didn't learn the plays till Seth got hurt. I did it till Seth got hurt at UCA. I did not know a play. I said, they just hold up a card and I go block that guy. It's easy. And so I remember I just started practicing the center. And you go, Clint, you're just getting into center. I appreciate you doing this. I don't even think you said that, but in my mind, you're like, hey, Clint,
I'm sure I did.
Dude, you're doing me a favor. I know you played center in 7th grade and you're willing to do this because we're having a depth issue. And you could either be a third string guard or third string center. Which one is it, buddy? But you're like, so you just ask me who you got. So I turn around. I said, who do I got? You go, number 1. And I go, okay. I turn around. I wasn't about to turn back around and say, Coach, I don't know what number 1 means.
So in other words, you were poorly coached.
I'm a smart guy. I was like, I'm a smart guy. I'm sure I can figure it out from here. But you're like, you've got number 1. I'm like, sure do. Turn around. You didn't yell at me after that, so I must have got it right.
Well, Coach, man, we do appreciate you coming on here, man, and
thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Brighten up my evening.
And of course, I always enjoy getting to hang out with former Camden Panthers. And
not many of us left.
That's right, yeah. So, congratulations on the Hall of Fame, both of y'all. That's a great honor. I'm so glad Arkansas Tech did that. And they need to listen to Clint on the other ones. Don't listen to Clint on anything else, but that they need to listen.
Well, and I tell you, and I know I'm forgetting some guys that probably deserve it, but I know without a shout out, every name I mentioned does. I mean, I'm probably Travis Horn still has the single game rushing record.
Oh yeah.
Now, was Rakono still your OC at that time for that game?
Yes.
Yeah, that probably
yeah.
2001.
I don't believe he had left yet.
Well, yeah, that sounds like the kind of thing he'd do. Make Travis run it 41 times. You're mean. Hey, if he's gaining 7 yards a pop, I'd hand it to him every time too. Yeah. I was like, 7 yards a pop. Give it to Horn. 62, 49, 40, 43.
Very good.
Coach, thanks so much. And
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
And once again, congratulations, Hall of Famers. I'm just the lackey here, no Hall of Fame for me. But anyway, folks, like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things. Thanks for watching the Hawg Slop podcast. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard ground so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come.